No Excuses with Michael DiLeonardo. I'm your host, RJ Roger, and this is a pretty important moment, I would say, as far as Cosa Nostra history, Cosa Nostra researchers, Cosa Nostra viewership. All of us kind of play a role in this whole thing. Um, so, real quick, I think it's fair to say that much of the analysis that has been drawn on John Gotti's legacy, John Gotti's history as boss of the Gambino family has largely been written by Sammy the Bull. When I say that, I'm not calling Sammy a liar. I'm simply saying that he has put out his perspective, his narrative. It's shared over 90 million views on his YouTube page, his books, his films, everything that he's worked on. He has shared his perspective on Gotti. It has really worked as far as the viewership of the public is concerned. A lot of what we believe about John Gotti has come from Sammy, even if we don't know that Sammy was the one that said it. John Gotti, he left no autobiography behind. He has no interviews, sitting down, sharing what his perspective was, what he thinks about things. He's not a mob podcaster. He's not in search of a film deal, a book deal, a podcasting deal, nothing. He never left his side of the story behind. What do the Ravenite tapes do that is outside of what they did to Gotti? We do know that the December 12th, 1989 tapes were the most damaging to Gotti. They are what got John Gotti convicted. Very difficult in court to have your own words played back to you. Difficult to wiggle out of that. Okay? But what the tapes do is they open a window inside of Gotti's mind that allows us to take a look inside and see what was his perspective. What did he think? What would he have possibly said about what was going on in the Gambino family in the late 80s? There's a guy who was there. Michael DiLeonardo was an insider, okay? Made, okay, by Sammy the Bull. That's the guy that pinched his finger, okay? John Gotti approved Michael to be made. John Gotti gave all of Sammy's rackets to Michael when Sammy was off the street. John Gotti had Michael helping Junior Gotti run the family when Gotti was incarcerated. So I think that Michael is a fair person that can assess both sides. He's a fair person that can assess what's Gotti saying in the apartment above the Ravenite. Now, what should be noted that is different than Sammy's perspective? When Sammy is sitting with Diane Sawyer, Patrick Bet David, writing a biography, making a podcast, doing films on his life, these are made for the public consumption. The biggest difference between the Ravenite tapes and the information that's out from Sammy is when Gotti's talking, he's not talking ever with the belief that the public is going to be listening into what he's saying. He's not talking for an audience of people. He's talking to Frank Locascio, his most trusted person, who was the underboss of the Gambino family. That should be considered. So Michael takes a look at line by line of these tapes, and he breaks them down, and he gives you his assessment. So, courtesy of our Patreon supporters, hundreds of votes came in where we asked our patrons to vote. Are you okay with this content going public on YouTube? Unanimously, hundreds of people voted yes, put it out. And the reason that most of them said in the comments was they believed it's important as a matter of record as to maybe what is John Gotti's perspective. How does John Gotti look at it? So, full sponsorship by our patrons. They want you guys to see this, and that's why it's coming out. So thank you to all of our loyal Patreon supporters for making this available to YouTube. Now, the next 6 parts of this discussion are loaded on Patreon right now. So if you find this part to be interesting, click in the description below, click on the link, subscribe to our Patreon channel, and you can watch the next approximately 7 hours of Michael's analysis. Let me know what you think. Leave feedback, leave your comment. Be respectful. It's all we ever asked. We don't have to agree. We just have to be respectful in our disagreement. Peace and love. This is No Excuses with Michael DiLeonardo, and I'm RJ Roger. Peace and love. All right. This is No Excuses with Michael DiLeonardo. I'm your host, RJ Roger. We got a good show for you guys today. What we're going to be discussing today is a conversation that took place in the apartment above the Ravenite on December 12th, 1989. This conversation takes place between Frank Locascio and John Gotti. These are the tapes. This is the meeting. This is some of the most devastating recordings. These are the recordings that really convicted John Gotti. What we know is that the lawyers assessed these tapes. The government assessed them, gave their opinions. Sammy gave his. But for the first time, we're going to get a new opinion on what's being said in these tapes. So I'm going to go through. I have the verbatims in front of me of what John Gotti was saying to Frank Locascio. I'm going to read line by line statements that came out of John Gotti's mouth, replies that came from Frankie Locascio regarding sensitive matters, regarding some things that were going on in the administration of the Gambino family. Michael was there. He was a member of the family at this time. He's an insider, so his perspective holds weight. Michael. All right, so we're going to jump right into this. Again, December 12th, 1989. John Gotti talking to Frank Locascio above the Ravenite. Today I go and have lunch. I mixed up about 4 lunches at once, you know. Frankie, I don't like you, I love you. I don't like Sammy. I love Sammy. As far as this life, no one knows it better than me. If a guy offends me, I'll break him. That's the fucking end of it. But not for me. It's this thing of ours. It's gotten to be a circus. I'm not going to leave a circus when I go to jail, Frankie. I don't want to be a phony. I ain't going to talk behind a guy's back. Louis was a fucking coffee boy. Know what a coffee boy was? A motherfucking coffee boy. So, Michael, I want to ask you, stopping right there. Coffee boy. Louis was a coffee boy. What's John saying here?
That would be Lou Valerio, who worked for Tato in the clubs, was not a made member. I don't think Tato would have ever made Louis for some reason. I like Louis, but for some reason, Tato held him back, and he took care of the club, served coffee to everybody, and marked score with card games, and took care of things like that. More of like a servant at that time. And with John is being super condescending with Louis right now, whatever was going through John's mind, which got him this angry, as the tapes will unfold, we will see. But things have been going on that he's that mad they're calling Louis a captain at this point, that Sammy made, not Tato, that Sammy made, and that made a captain before he made Louis Melito a captain. He made Lou Valerio. And John, like tough guys, and he's calling Sammy out to Frankie that he made a fucking coffee boy. Again, this isn't my opinion, this is John's opinion about how he feels right now with his ire about Louis and Sammy.
John Gotti continues. Never did nothing. I'm telling you again. Never did nothing. He's a billionaire now. A billionaire now. Do you know who he's referring to when he's talking about a billionaire?
Yeah, he's talking about Louis again. Excuse me, because I'm going to follow you with the transcript on another computer.
Okay.
Uh, so let me get to
Talking
it.
about Lou.
Yeah, he's talking about Lou Valerio. Louis was not a billionaire. He had a few dollars. Okay, I got it. Yeah,
Okay.
and he's talking about him being a billionaire. And then this is John blowing off steam. He's trying to make a point that Louis was a coffee boy and now he has a lot of money. And this is what he owns buildings, throws $500,000 into factories and bars. They opened up some clubs, discotheque and some other clubs, restaurants in Manhattan. Caesar's East, who was a guy around Louis. They opened up restaurants and stuff. So they had some money. They were spending some money. So John is not happy about it.
He continues on. I got guys around me who aren't making 5 cents. This is my back. When DB got whacked, they told me a story. I was in jail when I whacked them. I knew why it was being done. I done it anyway. I allowed it to be done anyway. Controversial statement. I don't really understand what that really means when he says, and I always kind of wondered what that meant. I knew why it was being done. How do you interpret? I knew why Louis was being killed. I'm sorry. I knew why DB was being killed.
Let me just go back just to the previous sentence to clean up the Valerio and the buildings and all that stuff comment. When he says everything was on my back, in other words, they got to where they are because of me, who I am. That's what he's saying. It's on my back. And his guys around him at this point aren't getting union jobs, aren't opening up companies at this point. And he's just ranting about he feels that I give an interpretation now and I'll give it again later on because I see the tapes that there's a separation between what Gravano's doing and what John Gotti is getting. And it's his Bugada, he's the boss. And now he delves into a murder that looks like he did not want to approve. He went along with because he was told certain things. Now, DB was a captain. DB really had no crew. DB was not a violent guy. He was not a threat to anyone. He was a co-conspirator in the poll thing after the fact. He went along with the program. DB controlled Local 282 of the Teamsters. He was one of the guys that controlled that local. And the president of local at that time was Bobby Sasso, who took over for an Irish guy, John Cody, a real tough guy. And so was Bobby Sasso. But DB handled that. DB also was involved with Chris Rikiki with the porn business. DB was a major player, big money guy, big money. You want to talk about Louis Valerio having all that money? No, Louis Valerio was sand on the beach compared to DB, the money he had and the influence. He was a player. So what John's saying here is they came and told me a story. I'll tell you who they is, my opinion. It's Angelo Ruggerio, who borrowed $100,000 and up off of DB. DB had to ask him for his money back from what I was told. He had the audacity to ask him for his money back. Imagine. Alone, not Shylock, alone. And Gravano. Angelo and Gravano was saying that DB was talking subversive. What's the word? I got tongue-tied.
Subversive.
Subversive. Thank you. Yep. It's been a long day. Subversive. Yeah. And they told him a story, and that's what he's saying. And I went along with it. I knew it was wrong, what he's trying to say. I knew they were wrong, and I went along and did it anyway. I allowed it anyway to happen. So he realizes at this point, he gave permission to a guy that did not deserve to die because two guys told him a story.
Wow. John continues. I saved the whole fucking industry. I got a piece of the company. For a year, an arrangement, a year. They haven't got a fucking job. One job. I got them a job. They got a runaround. I was sent for. You sent my partners. Johnny Blowjob sends for him, and they give him a runaround. Can you tell me who Johnny Blowjob is?
Yeah, pretty sure that's John Gamarano, who's handling one of the unions, expertise in the construction business, and was reporting at this time to Sammy Gravano about construction stuff. He was a brilliant guy in that industry. Wise guy. A made guy.
Okay. They told him they were going to a party. Fuck them. Those Irish motherfuckers. Fuck them. They don't mean nothing to me. I send this Joe Crotty here. He's a good friend of ours. He's taken care of dozens of people in jail. He's done nothing but good things for us. He's in the carpet business. Joe Gallo brought him to me about 8 years ago. Anything you want to add there?
Yeah, what he's talking about, the guys, one of the people he had lunch with was the Irish guys, were part of the Westies at one time, and they owned a company called Marine Construction, a rebar business, and did some construction work in Manhattan. And this company was brought in, and they're giving John a salary, if I remember correct. I think it states it later on in the tape. But just for clarity, these are the guys you talk with that he's calling them Irish motherfuckers, but he really don't mean it that way. It's the way John speaks. John don't mean it in a bad way. He says, in other words, what are these guys? Nothing. They're just Irish motherfuckers. We're going to rob them. We're not going to give them any jobs. This is what he's saying.
He continues, if my name could help you at any point in time, go ahead. He goes there 2 months ago. He got thrown out. Johnny Gotti wants Johnny G to have it. Where's this guy come in the carpet business? They're in the rebar business.
Concrete business.
Concrete business. There's a builder up in the Bronx, a billionaire builder. The guy's with me through Art Plumbing. Sammy sends me word. You were there. Anything you want to add there?
Yeah. What he's saying is he has a nucleus of people that do work for our company, for our Bugada, for our family. And what he's saying here is that somebody used John Gotti's name saying he's supposed to get the job. Whatever work was going to be done, it was supposed to go not to whoever the job was bid by, the guys that John and the family had before that. There's going to be new people getting the job. And they use John's name. According to John Gotti right now, they're using John's name. And the Johnny G there is, again, Johnny Gamarano, who wound up being with Sammy. He's Danny Marino's cousin, but was taken by Sammy because of the construction. So now he's a surrogate going out in the world, hustling business and taking stuff away from, as John says it, people that were in place for the Bugada and for him.
I sat with the fucking owner of the building today. They don't know who the fuck Sammy is. And they don't know who fucking Marathon is. They knew Marine and them way before that. They were told this is where I wanted it to go. So it went to Marathon. Who's Marathon? That's Sammy. Where are we going here? Where the fuck are we going here? Where are we going here? Every fucking time I turn around, there's a new company popping up. Rebars, buildings, consultant, concrete. Every time we got a partner that don't agree with us, we kill them.
Let's hold it right there right now.
Okay.
Guys, let me backtrack now.
Yep.
Now, as I stated earlier, he sat with Marine. Those are the Irish guys, Buddy Leahy and Mikie Cahill. They were the Irish guys that were part of the Westies, but in the construction end, the legit end, quote unquote, legit end. And they were with our family. Joe Watts was handling them for a while. And a guy named Bosco, who was like a terrorist, Bosco. So he's blowing off steam that the job was taken away and given to a company that nobody ever heard of, was Marathon. Marathon is owned exclusively by Sam Gravano. They're beefing to him, saying a company named Marathon came in and knocked everybody else off the job and took the job. So now what John's getting into is he's stating all the companies that Gravano is opening up and people around him that Sammy's controlling. Now they're taking it away from everything that belonged to the family, including these Irish guys who were getting jobs for people for years and were loyal and on the payroll, putting the hierarchy of the Gambino family on the payroll. So these guys are getting shut out for jobs. And it's all going to Gravano because Gravano has everybody out there using his companies or companies controlled by him.
Every time we got a partner that don't agree with us, we kill him. You go to the boss and your boss kills him. What does he mean there?
A heavy statement. This is the whole crux of everything right now. What he's saying, you go to your boss, he means Gravano. Gravano goes to the boss, John Gotti, and says he has a problem with somebody, there's an issue with somebody, and John is sitting back and he realizes right now, my opinion, and it's very strong opinion, is that he realized Sammy used him. And every time Sammy came to him and had a beef and wanted something from somebody, he asked the boss for permission to kill them. John is starting to realize this, what's going on, and he's fuming about it. Read the line again. You go to your boss and the boss kills him. He kills him. He okays it. In other words, he okays it because he's the last call on murder. And it's given him a story, Gravano is, and Ruggerio earlier, about things that are being said about John or things that they want to take away from people with ulterior motives. And John realizes he's been used.
Wow. He okays it, says it's all right. Good. Where are we going here, Frankie? What the fuck are we? What do I get out of this here? Better not become a clown. Where am I going? What do I do with the rest of the brigada? You throw them in the fucking streets? The rest of the brigada? What are we going to do with the rest of the brigada? What's he saying here?
Well, a very compelling statement. He's saying, he's telling Frankie, what do? We just let Sammy run wild? We let him take everything? There's other captains here. There's other people in the family that are doing things, and Sammy's taking everything. He's really spewing a lot of disappointment and anger with Frankie towards Gravano. And he says, what do you do with the rest of the brigada? What do you do with the rest of the family? Nobody can eat. He's taking everything. In John's mind, right now, Sammy's out of control. And he's having people killed. And John feels like a clown. He says it. I feel like a clown. I think I've been led around by the master of ceremonies. He's the clown. Master of ceremonies is Gravano.
Wow. 25 Capo de Chinas. We got 22 out of 25 beef to me. What do I do here, Frankie? Sammy tells me you and him took a walk about a concrete plant in New Jersey. Somewhere, I told him, when do you guys decide and tell me about it? What's he saying here?
Well, what he's laying more groundwork at Frankie's feet right now. He says you got 25 captains, and almost all of them are beefing to John about Sammy. Not about anybody else. This is directly only at Sammy, and he's telling this to Locascio. Sammy tells me you and him now, this is what's burning inside John's belly. And he's going to test Frankie right now on his answers. He tells him, you went to a concrete plant in New Jersey? You and Sammy? When were you going to decide to tell me about it? In other words, now he sees Sammy growing in all different aspects, taking control of the family with businesses. Now he feels like, did he compromise Frank Locascio? They didn't come and put it on record. My conseiller and underboss are getting together doing things, and they don't tell me. What don't I count here? You're going to go around me, not Frank. You're going to go around me with Sammy and not tell me? He's steaming right now. He's beside himself. This is a test for Frank Locascio right now. I'm sure, John, I would love to hear the actual audio of this tape to hear how John's saying it and Frankie Locascio's replies. Because it had to be, Frank Locascio probably be stunned with John taking him to task on this, because that's what John's doing. He's testing Frankie right now, his loyalty.
Now, I'm going to go into Frank Locascio. I just want to add a little asterisk here that Sammy has stated before publicly that all the captains were coming to him upset with John. Here we have John saying almost all the captains are coming to him with a beef. Just want to put it out there. So you have two different perspectives here.
Well, I'm going to give you the perspective. He's talking to Frank Locascio. It's on record.
Yeah.
You hear it? He did not tell. John is not telling one lie here. He's not exaggerating. He has his way of adding color to the way he speaks. That's John. John's could play Frankie Locascio and tell him, John, none of that's true. It's a falsehood. He trusts Frankie. He's taking Frankie to task with this. Now, as far as Sammy saying, what did he say that? I didn't see it, but what did Sammy say?
He just made
about showing up at the Ravenite and exposing everybody. That's his complaint. That's what he tells the people. Yeah, I'm sure people talk to Sammy about that. That's the complaint. Look at John's complaints. Look at his complaint. And we'll talk about Sammy with 50, 60 guys every Tuesday night at Tally's Bar. Union guys, captains of other families, all kinds of people, contractors, Big Apple. Everybody was there. Every Tuesday night was a party. We all had a good time when I was going there. What did they complain to Sammy about? Not about John doing anything, except for making everybody show up.
So Locascio responds back to John when John makes these statements and saying, hey, what's going on here in Jersey? Like, why are you meeting with Sammy? Locascio responds back, there's nothing for sure. I just got the plans and I asked him. Looks like John cut him off and said, yeah, but I told him, don't I have the right, Frankie?
Yeah, but I don't want to interrupt you. But what Frankie's saying there, Frankie just got nervous. In other words, John, we didn't make a decision without you. He's trying to paint John. And John is cutting him right off. You ain't going down that road with me. That's what he's doing. Don't give me that excuse. You didn't make a decision. No, you're supposed to come and tell me before you do it. It's not about making a decision. I'll think for John in this spot, because that's what I would have done. I would have cut him off too. Oh, bullshit, me. So go ahead. Read the rest of it.
John says, don't I have the right, Frankie? As you're my acting underboss. You're supposed to tell me first. Then I'll tell you if it's okay to go ahead or not.
That's it. Just what I articulated just now. He's teaching a guy that's been in the life his whole life, and Gravano right now, that the two is protocol. I'm going to teach you protocol. I'll tell you if it's okay. You don't tell me. You don't just do it. And he's right. It's 100%. If he's feeling the way he is and all this is going on, he didn't just talk to Frank Locascio about this now. You think he's that mad with one conversation? No, there's been conversations before that. They probably just won't record it. So this is a buildup. There's the mountain ready to explode. He's exploding right now. And it devastated him. So he's telling Frank, without saying, Frank, you forgot protocol? He's very disappointed in Frankie right now. And he's going to let him know it. He is letting him know it.
Gotti continues, Frankie, I won't stop you, Frankie. I would give it to you. I'll go take it in the ass and give you the money. Locascio responds, there was nothing. He said he was going to meet with us. Carl. Who's Carl?
Carl Lizard. He's with John.
Okay.
The major player in the construction, but not a wise guy, Didn't need wise guys. Never wanted to have wise guys. He passed away. Great guy. He wound up with being with me. I was hitting him for a little while, but a major player in the construction business.
Now it looks like John begins to, maybe he roared a little bit, then he kind of dials it back. He says, Frank, I didn't say you did anything underhanded. Locascio responds, I
Right
would
there.
never
Stop
do
right
anything.
there. Hold it up. Let me get there. You know what he's saying there? Read that line again, what John said.
Frank, I didn't say you did anything underhanded.
What do you think that really means? Frank, you did something underhanded. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to accept that you didn't for this conversation purposes. But in his stomach and in his head, he just told him, you're fucking underhanded by going with him. You know better. And he knows Frankie knows better. Go ahead. And see what he said? I would never do anything like that. No kidding. What are you going to tell him? He knows what John just accused him of. Being underhanded.
Yeah, so Locascio responds, I would never do anything like that. Gotti responds immediately and says, I know you better than that, Frankie. Don't you understand? I want you to own 500 plants, and I don't tell no one about a plant. But I want to know about it, Frank. I got beef. Guys beefing at me every fucking hour, every day.
Yeah. He's telling Frankie, if you want money, if you want power, you want control, you just come to me. I give you whatever you want. You want 500 plants? I give you 500 plants. That's John with the big exaggerations, but he's making an extreme point. It ain't about money. John, listen, John was not about money. He was not. He was happy, like he said in one thing, I'll be happy with a ham sandwich. John just wanted to be the boss. He wanted protocol to follow, no matter how much. Again, I'll add this. Now, how much he treated Cosa Nostra when it suited John, he treated it his way, and personal lives and everything else that went on. John did a lot of things to break protocol in Cosa Nostra. That's a whole other subject. But right now, Johnny wasn't about money. Till the day he died, he wasn't about money. He wanted enough to go out, eat, gamble, and give money to his family and have a good time. That was it. He wasn't looking to be a billionaire. He wasn't looking for that. He wasn't even looking to be Paul Castellano.
I don't really understand this part, so maybe you can break this down for me. Yesterday, one of them fucking capo de chinas sent for me for a glory fucking meeting on Sunday, and the people think that this is my fucking green eyes.
Yeah. In other words, he's going to sit. You don't say which one it is, but one of them are making a beef about something that happened. And it's about money. Green eyes means you see green. And people are starting to think that John knows everything Sammy's doing. So in perception is everybody thinks John has green eyes. John is greedy. John just wants money, which is the total opposite. Because John, in all these statements, as you can see, knows nothing about what's going on. People just keep coming and telling what Gravano's doing and complaining.
A couple of our capo de chinas. You think it's my green eyes? You think this is me doing this? This is not me, Frankie. What do I get out of this fucking shit? Locascio responds, which building is this? Not sure what he means by that.
Okay. Well, so Frankie obviously knows what captain he's talking about at this point.
Okay.
They have it's a construction job. It's definitely a construction job where Frankie Lowe's understanding where John's, who he sat down with, and is complaining.
Yeah, because Gotti goes on and says it's a big building. So you are right here, because he says it's a big building. I don't know where. 6 million, 20 million, whatever it is. So he has no idea, pretty much, right?
It's just to give you what John's about. Think about you're a CEO of a company, and you're going to negotiate or sit down about something, one of your employees or a contract that was being negotiated, right? You think you would remember the number? John don't care about the number. He was steaming at that meeting. He couldn't give if it was $1 or $6 billion. It's principle right now. That's what he said, 6 million, 20 million, I don't care, whatever it is. It's the principle. That's where John's coming back. He don't care about the money, how much it is. Frankie's trying to say, oh, it's a building, nice building. That's what he's got in his mind, trying to put John that we do whatever job it is going to happen. This is my mindset. He's trying to calm Frankie's trying to calm John down, but it's not working.
Very interesting. Yeah, it's a big building. I don't know where. 6 million, 20 million, whatever it is. But where are we going here, Frankie? Where the hell did all these new companies come from? Where did 5 new companies come from? When Nazarbeek died, you were nothing. Referring to Sammy there, correct? When he says you.
Let's stop right there if we can.
Okay.
All right. When he's saying, talking to Frankie, he says you were nothing, he don't mean Frank Locascio. It's back to Gravano. 5 new companies. Whether it be 5 or 3 or 2 or 6, John's taking a number. I'm not sure how many companies Sammy had. He had a lot. So Nazarbeek is Paul Castellano. I gave him that name way back. Story for another day. But he's beefing to him that you were nothing. In other words, he wasn't a captain. He wasn't big in the construction business. He wasn't now conseiller. He had no role. John is minimizing Sammy at this point because he's very angry. He's minimizing Gravano. Now that Gravano has risen, he's got everything. Paul had you as nothing. I have you as everything.
Wow. He continues. Hold on. When Nazarbeek died, you had nothing. Louis Melito had Gem Steel. You told me that the guy talked behind my back. Now you got Gem Steel. The other thing, you told me DB cried behind my back. Now you got all of that. And you got Bobby Sasso.
Another tough story. Louis is Louis Melito. Gravano's friend since they were very, very young. They were partners for a while. Louis had a company called Gem Steel. The owner of the company was a fellow named Joe Polito. Was not a wise guy. They were steel erectors. Massive. A lot of work. Louis Melito and Sammy had a falling out, which we'll discuss another day. And Sammy kills him. He was in Sammy's crew. Louis thought he should be the captain, not Louis, as John referred to that coffee boy. I'll explain the story I heard about Louis getting killed. But there's another one that Sammy went to John and told him a story about Melito and had him killed. The guy was a tough guy. He was a worker, meaning murderer. He did all the shooting for Sammy. I like Louis very, very much. He's one of the guys in that life that I really got close to. He confided in me with a lot of stuff. Louis did. And really upset that he killed him. But getting back to John, he says, Sammy wanted Gem Steel. So what do? You didn't take it. You murdered him. You killed him. And you took it. Besides the other companies. John is laying a case out to Frank Locascio about what Sammy's doing. He sees right now what Sammy's been doing. And he's fed up. Now we go to DB. We talked about DB earlier. He brings DB back into the conversation. Here's 2 guys that you said talked about me, and I okayed you for you to murder them. And you took everything they had. Nobody else in the family got them. Gravano took them. So John's starting to see this. Now he's realizing again that he's approving guys to get murdered and for Sammy to take them.
Wow. Now John interjects in the middle of that. He says, hey, Frankie, are you with me, Frankie? Posing a question. Hey, Frank, are you with me, Frankie? I'll walk out of here and will terminate our friendship. Is that the way this is? That our marriage is? That's not the way it's going to be, Frank. I give you my word, Frank. I love you guys. I don't fabricate no part of it. Why don't. Okay.
Okay. Another very compelling part of this conversation. He's tested Frankie again. Frankie's not answering him fast enough. Frankie ain't speaking to him with conviction against Gravano. He's sitting back. If I was Frank Locascio, he should have had a bigger voice there. Because John has tested him. Frankie ain't jumping in and getting angry at what he's saying that Gravano is doing. And he knows Frankie is aware of everything. John's just repeating what everybody knows, to his chagrin. Cost him his life in jail and everybody else that was involved. So he's asking me, you with me? In other words, you're not answering. Or, Frank, are you on my side? Or are you on that side? He's saying, are you with me? Are you following the conversation? Because maybe Frank has one blank, boing, because with John on the rage, you could go blank. Even a guy, toughest guy around, like one of the toughest guys around, Frank Locascio. Is the boss. This is the guy enraged. This guy's no joke. And right now, his not only I gotta say his feelings are hurt, no, his position is threatened by Gravano. So when he says, which is extremely interesting the way he phrases this, because until today I never really picked up on this. He says, "I'll walk out of here. I'll terminate our friendship." Now, if John told that to me, I would say, terminate? Like, a dog goes like this. When the dog looks at you, and I would say, terminate. It's a very curious term John just threw at me. Is it terminate means end, right? Terminate could be exterminate. Terminate our friendship. You don't cause it Ostra. There's no terminate in a relationship. What does he mean? Frank, you're through? I'll break you? Can't turn his back on him. And then he uses the term marriage. Marriage is a contract, right? They have a contract when they got their fingers pinched. It's a bond. They're married at that administrative level, all three guys. They're all married at that. He's telling them, I'll have a divorce from you.
Wow.
That's, again, this is my interpretation.
Is he throwing a subtle threat?
Subtle threat. Absolutely. Which you could take both ways. But knowing John, there's an underline, that river's running very deep right now. That he just posed a threat to Frank. Opinion.
Just your opinion. Can he read the room? Does Frank know what's going on right now? Does Frank know what John's saying right now?
Yeah. Either that or what sometimes you could come under some stress and take it off guard. Maybe he went blank. Like I said earlier, Frank, you following me? Like if you got to hear the voice to see how he means it. You know what I mean? Frank, are you okay? Like in a question, Frank, you following me? Is it like, or you following me? You with me?
And what's your thought? What's your thought? Which one it was?
I think it's when he didn't answer him. Are you following me? We'll terminate. I'll walk out of here. I'll terminate our relationship. Answer me. What are you're not saying nothing. I'll terminate our friendship. We don't know how long that pause is in between there. Are you with me, Frank? I'll walk out of here. You understand? Are you with me, Frank? I'll walk out of here. You know what I'm trying to say? What is it?
Yeah.
We got to hear the conversation. But to me, the way it is, he's waiting for a response from Frank. Frank's not giving what he wants to hear.
And largely, you think at this point, this probing part, John's testing the water. He's trying to see who Frank is. Frank, he's testing it. Is every question John asking, does he already have a thought, but he wants to see the answer? Is that what he's doing here? He's trying to see.
RJ, he's that brilliant.
Wow.
Remember the statements. Remember all the statements he made to Frank. He made the statement, you went out there without telling me. You know the rules, Frank, without saying you know the rules. The other one, it's John's leading him down the road.
Wow. Locascio responds, John, why don't you pull him in? And then he says, pull him in, pull his coat. That's Locascio talking to Gotti. Just fast forwarding very Gotti says, that's why I wanted to end tonight here. I wanted it to end tonight. Locascio responds, you want me to go and get him? I'll bring him in. Gotti says, no. What are you thinking, Michael?
Yeah. In other words, here we go again. Frankie A.S. didn't pick up on what he said. He says he wants it to end tonight. My feeling is, Frank, what side you on? Where are you in this situation? I want an answer from you now. Frankie goes, I'll go get him. John in his mind saying, I don't need you to go get him. I don't need you. That's your co-conspirator again? Frank don't realize what he just said. I'll go get him. John, you want to send for him? John, do you want to send for him? I'll go get him. Curious. John's following this. And he goes, no. I'll send it for him. I'll send them to get him, or whatever he means in the next line. I don't need you to go get him. I can get him.
So Frank's on his heels here. Frank's on his back feet here. Is he nervous? Is he getting scared? Is he probably shaken up a bit?
Yeah.
Not sure what to say?
Yeah. John caught him off guard. Absolutely. Because he's he's putting him and Sammy in the same pot. And Frankie don't know how to get out of the pot. He's not answering him the right way because I think he's a little taken off guard and nervous.
Wow.
You know what that shows, right? To John, you know what that shows?
What?
Come on. Shows guilt.
And does John know what you think?
John smells fear.
You told me that in a previous show. Wow.
I'm not saying Frankie was afraid, but Frankie was in the box for some reason.
Okay. Wow. Very interesting. Okay. So after Locascio says, John says, no. Locascio says, I'll go and get him. John just essentially just cuts it at that point. He doesn't even continue into that. And he says, this is bullshit. This is Gotti talking. This is bullshit. He's not a capo de China. He wants to be a capo de China. I'll take him down from Consigliere and I'll make him a capo de China. He can have all the fun he wants to have. Frankie, this shit, I'm not going to take it.
Yeah, what he's saying is he's not acting like an administrative person. He's acting like a captain in that capacity, where the administration really isn't supposed to have. And this is my opinion, or what I've seen in the past, is you're not supposed to be in conflict with your captains and your soldiers doing business in the street and bringing you money. What Sammy's doing here, he's capitalizing over and everybody because of his position in administration. And John's saying here, he knows he can't take. First of all, let me just clarify this. He knows he can't break Sammy. You either kill Sammy or you talk to him. You can't break him. Not going to happen. Sammy's crew's too big. Sammy's too powerful at this point. Sammy is an issue. And what's John going to kill? He just killed the boss. Frankie the Chico's dead. He's going to kill Sammy. Other people that died. Everybody's thinking that John's approving all these murders. They're going to say, this guy's out of fucking control. Meaning John. Meanwhile, it's not John, Sammy. And John's approving it, of course. But it's Sammy and Angelo Ruggerio, the driving forces behind these murders. So what John is saying is, I'll take him down. I'll take guys away from him. I'll do this. I'll do that. He's calming down a little bit at this point, and he's letting Frankie go.
Now, like you just said, he can't break him. He's too powerful. Does John in this moment, does he know I need Frankie with me in case I gotta move on Sammy, or is he trying to figure out, do I gotta put them both in a hole?
Yeah, I think you got it. Yep.
Which one?
I think it's both. If he goes after Sammy, Frankie don't agree with him, or he's feeling Frankie, maybe he thinks Frankie may tip off Sammy. John's that mad. This ends tonight, but it don't end tonight. It don't end that night.
So Locascio again interjects. I'll go and get him for you. Gotti immediately cuts him off again. No, I'll send them. They are going to do it. Not sure what he means there. I'll send them. They are going to do it.
They're going to go get him.
Oh, okay.
Well, for Sammy to come in.
All right. This is not the way it's going to be, Frank. I'll see him tomorrow, and I'm going to tell him tomorrow. I told him the other fucking day, Saturday. I see 8 of our fucking kids. None of our kids supposed to be future prospects, like fucking bum junkies in the hall of the fucking house. Where's he going here, Michael?
Yeah. Well, he's talking about the young guys that may get straightened out. We don't want to make guys that with habits, drug habits, etc. We're not going to pick the halls and pick out drug addicts and just put anybody into life. So there's probably a list at this time going around because it is near Christmas. And there was a lot of ceremonies done at Christmas time, Easter, New Year's. John liked the holidays to straighten guys out around there. So there's probably a list, 1989. I got to think who's on that list. I know who's on the list. I know a few guys were on that list. Okay.
Why is he switching into this kind of conversation all of us? So
like I said just a minute ago, John may just drop down a level from being that heated, and he went to something else. Protocol, the family. Now, what are we doing? There's future prospects. There's meaning guys they may get made and things like that. So John maybe he's taking himself out of. Maybe he knows he went too far with Frankie. Who knows? He was raging. Who knows? Okay.
So he goes on, kind of flips back. Where are we going here, Frankie? He says that line a lot. Where are we going here?
He wants Frankie to answer. What are we doing? What's up?
That line over a dozen times. I see it in just this meeting.
Yeah, we're not in the right direction, Frank. This is going all wrong. Where are we going? This is wrong. What are we doing? Like haphazard. Sammy's running everything. You're having meetings. We may straighten out junkies. Nobody knows. So here we are. I got construction guys complaining to me. I got 20-something captains complaining to me. John's feeling a lot of pressure, and he keeps saying that he's covering for Sammy. They think it's John giving the okays. That's what I get out of that.
All right, where are we going here, Frankie? Where are we going here? This is not my teachings. None of this is my teachings.
Right. John's protocol at this point.
Talking about a house, and Locascio responds, talking about a house for liars. He knows what he's doing. What's that?
I think Frank Locascio just gave him a little tidbit.
But he's talking about Sammy, right? Sammy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. I think he gave John a little tidbit.
So maybe is Frank sensing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I better align strongly with John or give John something here.
Right. Yeah, House of Liars, right.
John responds, he's not gone. He's home in bed. He's home. He's home at his house. I'm on that, Frank. I'm on every fucking thing. Selling $500,400,000 deal. Frankie, you could love me. He loves me. I know he does. But Jesus fucking Christ, this is not your candy store. You take a cocksucker like Johnny G, You make this rebel against his own cousin? You heard him just now downstairs, the cousin, Capo de Gina. I never rehearsed this.
Now let's hold it right there if we can.
All right.
All right. Now he's getting back to that everybody loves everybody. And he's saying this is not the way it's supposed to go. If we all love each other, this is not the way. We're going in the wrong direction. There's no way. You love me, I love him, everybody loves each other. He's just throwing that out there that we all should be getting along, and it shouldn't be this way. And he's saying I have affection. But then he blows up, but Jesus fucking Christ. He goes right back. You know what this the saying is, this is a candy store? In other words, everything's for you. All the sweets are for you in the candy store.
Okay.
Here's your candy store. You walk in there, you eat everything that tastes good to you. You take everything. You go in there and eat all the candy.
Okay.
Therefore, you know.
Okay.
And, now he goes back and he says, you take a cocksucker like Johnny G, and that would be Johnny Gamorano, and you make this guy rebel against his own cousin. Sammy took Johnny G and controlled him with the construction. Danny Marino was just made a captain by John. So Sammy takes him away from his own cousin. John liked family with family. You know, if you're a wise guy or something like that, he believed in putting the family all together. He didn't believe in separating family. So this is bothering him that now Sammy's even made a divide. They weren't real blood cousins. They know each other since kids, Danny Marino and John Gamorano. But they were that close. And now it seems like John's reading through Danny Marino told him downstairs with Frankie Lowe there that he's upset with Johnny G that he took Sammy had taken him. That's what it looks like. That he pulled him away from his cousin, and Sammy's now handling a guy who controls unions, who was given the ability to control unions, going back to Paul.
John continues. I haven't spoken one word to this guy. Gets near you. He rebels against them. I think he's in charge of 2 unions. You got him, Johnny G, working hand in hand with Joe Brewster and Local 23. You convinced me that's good for me.
Hold it right
got
there.
Joe.
Yeah, hold it right there. Let's one at a time. What he's saying here, he says he never spoken a word to Johnny G. In other words, he never interacted with Johnny G over business or anything else. Whatever he did, he had his captain. He went into whatever business he was doing. He never interacted with Johnny G and stuck his nose as an administrative position in that business. What he's saying here, you get near him, you make him get angry, or him and his cousin, which is a captain, have bad feelings, and you take him. And what has he got? Frank. He's got 2 unions he handles. He's handling some unions, 731, 23. There's more than 2. There's a bunch of unions. Not only with our family, with a lot of other families, that Johnny G, like I told you, is very, very good at what he did with construction. So now we're talking about Joe Brewster. Joe Brewster, this is the father, Joe Brewster. And Joe Brewster was a delegate of Local 23. I think I touched that on another meeting, on another show about a meeting I had with Joe Brewster and him handling that Local 23. So now Johnny G's there. Now you got Joe Brewster going to you. Joe Brewster's with Jimmy Brown. So being that you have Sammy had all the construction, he was handling all that, right? He's also got Joe Brewster going to him. He's handling everything with Joe Brewster for the union. And you convinced me, which is another interesting line. Sammy told him, I need Johnny G. I need Joe Francolino. We're going to talk to next. I need Joe Brewster. I need to have all these guys to control the construction. You convinced me. John, it's good for us. I take everything. You convinced me. Now, John's now regretting being the clown for the ringleader.
Seeing how he's breaking all this down so scientifically, almost like a lawyer, just kind of shows his.
Watch your mouth. There's children watching. Don't start that lawyer. Don't be calling me no lawyer. I take offense to that. There's an affront coming.
You got Joe Francolino working hand in hand. Don't you see this? Or am I talking to myself, Frank? He's posing another question to Frank. Frank, am I talking to myself here? Go ahead.
Yeah. He says,
Am
am
I
I lying?
lying? Am I talking to myself? Am I lying? Am I out of order here? Correct me. You're my fucking underboss. Correct me, Frankie.
Devastating. Again, Frankie's not saying anything. Now, Joe Francolino worked with Jimmy Brown, who controlled the private sanitation for our family and most of the city with the West Side. For private sanitation, huge money came into it there forever. Very lucrative. And Joe Francolino was being groomed. He was in the garbage business already. And he was being groomed by Jimmy Brown to take over the association one day. Jimmy was getting up in age. And if Jimmy got pinched, there would be Joe Francolino to step in to somebody who knew it. Before Frankie DiCicco got killed, Paul had him with Jimmy Brown. Paul Castellano had him with Jimmy Brown, learning the association and all the companies. But Frankie, he killed Paul, and Jimmy Brown still handled that. So now he's grooming Joe Francolino. And where's Joe Francolino hanging out? Who's he with now? He's with Sammy. Now John's getting mad again. Frankie's must be not, like I said, I love to hear these tapes. The amount of time in between what John's talking, when he's talking. Do you see this? He must be saying, like, question mark. Do you see this? Am I talking to myself, Frank? He's not getting a response. He's not getting a bounce from him. So Frank should be getting, am I lying? Now, Frank, he's telling, know what he's telling? Call me a liar. Tell me I'm wrong, like he told him earlier. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now he's saying, call me a liar. Tell me I'm lying. He's challenging him. He's really did Frank again. He went like this. He went like this. He flattened. Now he's like this real fast again. It must be the way Frankie's demeanor, the way he's reading him, or the way he's not answering him the right way. So I go, correct me. You're my fucking underboss. Open your fucking mouth. Open your mouth. Correct me, Frank. In other words, I dare you. Tell me I'm wrong. Call me a liar. He's flipping.